Hello, I'm Magsie Moyer and welcome to this week's playlist, The Sheffield Music Scene, 1960s to 2000s. This playlist is a selection of 16 tracks from the best of Sheffield music scene from the swinging 60s into the noughties. It's always interesting to know about music from particular places, whether they are countries, regions or cities. Sheffield, a city in northern England, is no exception. With a population of some 584,000, it's substantially smaller than some of the region's other musical conurbations, like Liverpool, Manchester, and only 1/16 the size of London. There are many things that could be said about life in Sheffield as a backdrop to its music. The essence might be summarised, however, as rivers, industrial revolution, steel, education, green space, parkland, football, snooker and regeneration. An article in 2019, Sheffield Music Through the Decades, from the city's entertainment guide, exposedmagazine.co.uk, gives an excellent summary of key developments. Many of the bands and artists mentioned appear in my playlist. 1960s. Dave Berry and Joe Cocker were the most notable of Sheffield's artists in the swinging 60s. Berry entered the UK charts in 1963 with Memphis, Tennessee. Joe Cocker signed his first record contract at what is now the Frog and Parrot pub on Division Street and became the first Sheffielder to reach number one with his cover of the Beatles track With a Little Help from My Friends. The 1970s. Standout Sheffield acts of the 1970s spanned experimental electronic music group Cabaret Voltaire, Def Leppard, who became prominent in the new wave of British heavy metal in the early 1980s, synth-pop band The Human League. The 1980s. New Sheffield talent emerged in the 1980s with the formation of the pop band ABC, who had 10 UK top 40 hit singles by 1990 and success in America. New wave and synth-pop band Heaven 17 also started in 1980, primarily as recording artists until their first live concerts in 1997. At the end of the decade, dance music recording label Warp began in a backroom of Sheffield's Fon record shop with initial focus on the UK's northern techno scene. The 1990s. Rock band Pulp, one of Sheffield's best-known musical protégés, dominated the brit pop-loving 1990s. Struggling to find success since formation in 1978, the band broke through with albums His and Hers in 1994 and Different Class in 1995, which topped the UK albums chart. Pulp were considered amongst the Britpop Big Four, with Oasis, Blur and Suede. They headlined the Pyramid stage at the Glastonbury Festival twice. 2000s. New entrants to the Sheffield music scene in the noughties included the Arctic Monkeys in 2002 and Moloko the following year. The Arctic Monkeys were one of the first bands to find massive public attention through the internet. Their debut album, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, was the fastest selling debut album in UK chart history. Their meteoric rise to fame even ensnared UK Chancellor Gordon Brown, who inadvisably mentioned the band in conversation about his favourite music during a magazine interview, but was famously unable to name even one Arctic Monkeys song. The electronic music duo Moloko eluded neat classification within popular music genres, but were notable for their sense of humour and sass. Vocalist Roisin Murphy had no professional singing experience when Moloko formed. She said to have first approached music producer Mark Biden with the chat-up line, "Do you like my tight sweater? See how it fits my body?" That line provided a title for the debut album they recorded later as a dating couple. On the theme of reinvention and regeneration, it's perhaps symbolic that Sheffield's music scene during this period began with Joe Cocker, an ex-fitter of old gas technology, but was characterised throughout the next 40 years by fast-developing synth and techno acts. As a city smaller than its music scene competitors, Sheffield demonstrates that size doesn't really matter, but that roots, Community, spirit and creativity count for a great deal. From the start, band formation and development in the city was consistently interwoven with life in the pubs, bars and clubs. As Alex Turner, frontman and principal songwriter of the Arctic Monkeys, sums up, "We live in Sheffield and we write about the things we see here. What else is there to write about?" Interestingly, Joe Cocker once said that had he not become a successful singer, he might well have been running one of those influential venues. "I think the only thing I would ever have been good at was probably being a pub landlord. I've thought of that a couple of times." Enjoy.